and welcome everybody to this evening's Town of Amherst Board meeting of Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Amherst Town Board meeting of Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. Today, in lieu of an invocation, I wanted to thank our staff and all the volunteer fire companies and the staff of Erie County who were involved in the New Year's Eve emergency in the town of Amherst. For anybody who doesn't know, there was a fairly large fire at a senior apartment building on Hopkins and North French. We had to open our senior center in order to temporarily shelter displaced people from that fire. Our staff, people back to occupancy and find temporary shelter for those who couldn't return. It was a New Year's Eve when a lot of people would have rather been at home, but we were diligent in trying to make sure those who were affected by the fire were safe and warm, and I can't thank those people enough. With that, I'd ask everybody please rise for a Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with justice for all. With that, I'm going to ask our town clerk to please call the roll.
Okay. Supervisor Copa.
Here.
Councilmember Berger.
Here.
Councilmember Lavin.
Present.
Councilmember Zuccalla.
Present.
And Councilmember Marinucci.
Here.
First item on the agenda are the minutes from Monday, December 18th, 2023. A motion to adopt those as they reappear. As appear on our agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is reorganization. Resolution 1 is the appointments of the town attorney, senior deputy town attorney, and town prosecutor for 2024. A motion to adopt those appointments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2 is the reappointment of the parliamentarian for 2024. A motion to reappoint the parliamentarian at this time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 3 is a reappointment of our town engineer for 2024. A motion to adopt that reappointment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 4 is a reappointment of the energy manager for 2024. We'll reappoint the motion to reappoint the energy manager.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 5 is a reappointment of affirmative action officers for 2024. A motion to adopt that reappointment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 6 is the reappointment of fair housing officer for 2024. A motion to adopt that reappointment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 7 is the reappointment of the town historian for 2024. A motion to adopt that resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 8 is the representation of the town of Amherst at the Association of Erie County Governments for 2024. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 9 is a representation of the town of Amherst at the annual meeting of the Association of Towns 2024. Motion to adopt that resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 10 is the designation of the official town newspaper for 2024. A
Second.
motion to adopt that resolution. There's
Second.
a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 11 is the designation of town official town depositories for 2024. A motion to adopt that resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 12 is check signing for 2024. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 13 is the payment of department expense accounts for 2024. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 14 is to approve the town officials blanket bond for 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 15 is the 2024 office hours and standard workday hours. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 16 is to set the 2024 holiday schedule.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 17 is to set salaries for town employees and civil service employees for 2024. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 18 is to set salaries for exempt employees for 2024. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 19 is to set salaries for department heads and assistant department heads for 2024. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 20 is to set the 2024 town board meeting dates. A motion to adopt that resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 21 is the 2024 Amherst Traffic and Safety Board meeting dates. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 22 is the 2024 Design Advisory Board meeting dates. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 23 is the 2024 Planning Board meeting dates. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 24 is the 2024 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting dates. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 25 is the 2024 Historic Preservation Commission meeting dates. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 26 is a reappointment of ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act coordinators for 2024. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 27 is to approve the 2025 budget calendar. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 28 is appointments to Amherst Public Library Board of Trustees. Motion to adopt those appointments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 29 are appointments to Historic Preservation Commission. A motion to adopt that resolution.
Second.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
I'd like the record to show that I'm abstaining from that vote. Resolution 30 is the Amherst Industrial Development Agency reappointment. A motion to adopt the reappointment at this time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 31 is the Zoning Board of Appeal appointments. A motion to adopt that appointment,
Second.
those appointments. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 32 is the Planning Board appointments. A motion to adopt those appointments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 33 is the Design Advisory Board reappointment. A motion to adopt that reappointment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 34 are new firefighters for the East Amherst Fire Company. A motion to adopt that resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 35 is the investment policy. A motion to adopt the investment policy.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 36 is the 2024 IRS standard mileage rate. A motion to adopt that as it appears.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 37 is the budget transfers and amendments. A motion to adopt those as they appeared.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 38 is an award of mini bid 2023057 for one 2024 Ford Transit Cargo Van CRS 4520. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 39 is the NYPA Customer Project Commitment CPC for Northtown Center Chiller Replacement CRS 4522. A motion to adopt that resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 40 is to adopt a procurement policy and contract administration policy. A motion to adopt those as they appeared.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 41 is to authorize supervisor to sign CRS 84 extension to piggyback CarQuest Advanced Auto Parts CRS 4526. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 42 is to approve stop-loss insurance with HM Insurance Group, CRS 4490. A motion to adopt that resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 43 is a case manager for Senior Services Senior Center. A
Second.
motion to adopt that resolution. There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 44 is a project coordinator for Elderly Services and Youth and Rec. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 45 is the wastewater pretreatment coordinator for engineering wastewater treatment plant. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 46 is the senior real property appraiser's assessor's office. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 47 is the real property appraiser for the assessor's office. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 48 is the clerk to town justice court. I'll motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 49 is the deputy town attorney, part-time prosecutor, attorney's office. I'll motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 50 is the 2024 Traffic Safety Education Trust Fund. I'll motion to adopt that resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 51 is a memorandum of understanding for the use of the Amherst Police Department Community Policing and Training Facility for Niagara Frontier Transportation Authority Police Department, NFTA, CRS 4515. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 52 is a contract extension for FM Communications Incorporated, CRS 4528. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 53 is the 2024 Asset Forfeiture Trust Account. A motion to adopt that resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution 54 is an authorization to pay a vendor. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 55 is an authorization to use T account funds for memory trees. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 56 is an authorization to use T account funds for youth and rec. A motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Communication 1 is a summons and complaint for Deutsche Bank National Trust Company et al. Versus Town of Amherst et al. Recommend we receive this and refer it to the town attorney.
Second.
Any reason not to, all in favor?
Aye.
Communication 2 is a notice petition for Penny Property Subholdings LLC versus Town of Amherst. Recommend we receive this and refer it to the town attorney as well.
Second.
All,
There's one other thing.
all in favor?
Aye. There's one other thing that I discussed with you that was left hanging last year, that we set a public hearing for, I forget the address, at the Eggert Road project for February, the first meeting in February. I can pull up the address if you need me to.
Okay. So we had a communication request we had adjourned a public hearing for, I don't remember the address, Eggert Road.
That's what I'm looking for. Hang on.
So I'll motion to move off of agenda for purposes of recalling the public hearing to order.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's 1350 Eggert Road.
1350. With that, a motion to set the date of the public hearing for 1350 Eggert Road
Monday, February 5th.
for February 5th's board meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Say, what's the address again?
1350
So I'm
Eggert
going to
Road.
motion to reopen the public hearing for 1350 Eggert Road for the evening of February 5th. There was a motion, there was a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, now a motion to return to regular agenda,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And now is an opportunity for public expression. I'm going to motion to open public expression at this time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have a list. We'll go off the list first. When you come up, I'm going to ask you to state your name and address for record. So I'm going to ask Allison Segraves. Oh, sorry. So we need to continue to follow our rules of public order at this board meeting. I'll remind everybody you have 3 minutes. There will be a bell with 30 seconds left. Please come forward, and Allison, please go ahead.
I have 3 topics. Number 1, budget. 2, ethics. 3, transparency. 1, this board passed a budget with an annual increase of 11.4%, egregious by any standard, more than triple the cap, and did so surreptitiously without public input. This is fiscally irresponsible and unsustainable. I understand the need for new projects In our households and businesses, we prioritize and make common sense trade-offs. We expect the same of our public officials. As I scanned the 250-plus page document, I saw no reference to any strategies to achieve efficiencies or productivity gains to help fund any new spending, putting aside the obvious question as to whether this spending is needed at these levels to begin with. This is just economics 101. With all the talented people in this town, certainly we could be more professional and sophisticated in how we manage our finances. I don't need a 2-page summary that dumbs down the budget. I want an executive summary that smartens up how this town will be managed with fiscal discipline starting today and how savings will be achieved as offsets to any new spending. Topic 2, ethics. I've begun doing research as to the remedies we as citizens have. I understand the town has a board of ethics whose mission is as follows. The Board of Ethics seeks to foster an environment where town officers, town employees, town agencies, and citizens work together in good faith with integrity and honesty. This mission has failed. I reviewed the Town of Amherst website earlier today and was unable to find any evidence that the Board of Ethics has met in 2023. The last meeting I was able to find on the website was January 2020. When is the next meeting of the Board of Ethics?
I'm going to address questions at the end of your statements.
Okay. Number 3, transparency. Councilman Lavin, you've called for transparency. The good news is Amherst already has a great example of transparency, and I commend all of those involved. But it is ironic that the transparency that we are most capable of is around the annual Santa parades throughout the Amherst fire districts. While almost no one in Amherst had any input or knew anything about the 11.4% budget hike, virtually everyone in Amherst knew what date and time Santa would be riding by their house on a fire truck. My fire department even shared a schedule on Facebook with street-by-street time routes for both Santa trucks. It doesn't count toward my time. Applause does not count toward my time. With online GPS for real-time tracking, transparency in action. And Mr. Culpa, you mentioned Santa in 15 plus posts on your town supervisor Facebook page while making 0 posts about the budget. You can't make this up. Fellow citizens, let's reclaim our voice in the governance of this town.
All right, Bill Blake. Bill Blake. Bill Blake. Bill Blake. Bill. The answer to
End of public expression.
I could the ethics board is called to order by its chairperson. I'm not the chairperson. This town board does not call those meetings. So we will talk to the chair, and they certainly are capable of calling meetings to order.
Who's the chair?
Who's the chair of ethics now? We have.
The last meeting was January 2020, 4 years ago.
So, okay, go ahead.
The seats are not filled on this.
That's a hard act to follow here. I appreciate that. My name is Bill Blake, 147 Fairlawn Drive. I'd like to welcome Angela Marinucci to the town board. We're looking forward to working with you to comply with your campaign promises to be a voice for the residents and to not rubber stamp the developers. At the last town meeting, I spoke about my concerns about the board passing the 2% override cap. The 11.4% revenue shortfall was known and published on September 16th in the town-approved 2024 budget on page 17. During the next 6 public board meetings, Supervisor Copel only mentioned that he might need the ability to exceed the cap because the budget was cresting, which if I was here, I would say 2%, not 11.5. This known budget gap would never be publicly mentioned for the next 6 weeks because it was election season, and it would have negatively impacted candidates running for office. During the November 9th special board meeting, 2 days after the election, the cap override was passed and the meeting adjourned in direct violation of the town's rules of order, which require public expression. I propose that one of the board members should issue a motion to rescind the override, or at the very least, issue a resolution to allow the residents to pay their February 15th tax bill, less 11.4%, without penalties from the County of Erie until proper public expression hearing could be held on this significant and outrageous tax increase. Ironically, the 2% cap override was passed with Sean's enhanced financial transparency amendment. So now that the residents have 100% transparency into what the actual tax increase was, I'm certain that you'd be welcoming feedback from the residents on some. I'm done already?
30 seconds.
So, Councilwoman Marinucci, would you be willing to sponsor a resolution that would halt that and rescind that tax increase?
We cannot answer during public expression. It takes his time up. We cannot answer during his public expression.
Finish the questions first.
I want my time back, so.
No, please take it.
But this is just a final recap of the December 18th meeting, because I and many others feel that how the tax cap was handled is very representative of how other business is being handled by the board. What I really wanted to talk about was, as I was standing here on December 18th, making these statements, the board was about to keep an important information shielded from the public. Earlier in the day on the 18th, Supervisor Culpa and other board members joined Governor Hochul, Mark Poloncarz, Susan Grelick, Randall Kramer to accept the $31 million telethon check for Amherst infrastructure development. At the presentation, Brian said the Amherst Town Park will be the new home of Music Fair Theater, a pretty definitive statement. But at the time, it had not been voted on. So, I mean, I don't understand how you could say that it was going to be part of the park when it had not been approved yet. As most people are aware, the Amherst Town Board's obsession with the development of the former Westwood Country Club has caused a tremendous amount of controversy regarding the need to spend over $40 million plus.
Bill, thank you for your comments.
Can I have her 3 minutes?
No.
Oh, I don't think we're supposed to answer.
Tom Weisbeck. I don't have to respond. At the end of public expression, we're going to respond to comments, yes. Understood. Okay, Tom, please go ahead.
For clarification, all answers have been questioned at the end of this question.
I'm going to answer questions at the end, yes. Tom, please go ahead. Tom, please go ahead.
Okay, I'm back here on the streetlights. Well, pardon me?
Name and address for the
Oh, I'm sorry, Tom Weisbeck, 48 Drawbridge Court. Thank you very much for that your input. Well, I wanted to ask about the street lighting contracts, how you awarded them. How many were there? How many bids were there? What was the cost of all of them? Were they union, non-union? Were they qualified people who were awarded to work on street lighting? Some are on the poles, close to primary, 13,200 volts on top there, a lot of them are, you know. So let's see what else. So their wage scale of the awarding of the contracts. My understanding, they were based on line mechanic wages and their pensions. So, I mean, I don't know if it's on the web. I wanted to come in and request all this stuff, but I figured maybe you'd have the answers. But if you're going to just,
I have answers for all of those at the end, yes.
I mean, there's a ton of questions. I mean, there is. I mean, mostly as a union guy, for me, my first question is: are they union contracts?
I will.
Who are they? I know I saw one contractor. I forget the name, but they were mostly on their poles. I didn't see anybody else.
Okay.
So,
I will go through all those
I
questions.
mean, is it on all this stuff's on the internet?
It is, and all the bids are on the internet.
Okay. Is it easy accessible?
Again, I'm going to answer everything at the end, but yes, so we can show you where.
Okay. Well, maybe can I come in and visit you and get the proper answers then, without a foil?
We could.
Here's a question.
We could set up.
You can answer me that.
Again,
answer me
I'm going to answer all these questions this evening.
Okay. One of the last questions. Do I have to ask for a foil? That's all I can ask.
No,
Thank
I'm
you.
going to answer them tonight.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Andrea Morganti.
Good evening, members of the Amherst Town Board. My name is Andrea Morganti, and I reside at 253 Woodshire Court. I am an Amherst resident, and I am here as a representative of a group of concerned Amherst residents. This group is not affiliated with any political party, but representative of a diverse group of individuals, and I want to make it perfectly clear. We are not here representing Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, or independents. But the people who want their voices heard. Our group would like to welcome you, Councilwoman Angela Marinucci, and we are asking for you to be the voice of the Amherst residents. When you spoke at the League of Women Voters Forum, we were impressed with your platform and felt this was someone who we could work with. You posted on your Facebook page, and I quote, Amherst, I am incredibly honored by your faith in me. I look forward to working with and listening to the Amherst residents to make it an even better place to live. We are hopeful that this will become true in the coming months. Stand with the residents and introduce legislation to halt the Westwood and Boulevard Mall projects. Show us that you are listening to the voices of all of Amherst residents who have signed a petition to rescind the tax hike. And because I have small hands, this is only a handful of the petitions. We have a lot more. Show us that you do not blindly follow party lines, but are the independent thinker we believe you to be. Supervisor Culpa, I'd like to ask you a few questions, but on my time, I'll only ask you one. The rest of the concerned citizens will follow. The residents want to know, do you believe the Amherst Town Board followed the policy and procedures that are in accordance with the OSC to pass the 2024 budget?
I'm going to respond after. I'm writing it down. I'm going to respond at the end. Yes, I believe we followed the requirements, but again, please continue.
That only requires a yes or no, sir.
I said yes.
So you are saying that there was accuracy and consistency with how the budget items were communicated to the public and that you followed the letter of the law, correct?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Dave Kuznecki.
Okay. Good evening, Amherst Town Board members. First of all, it's Dave Kuznecki.
Sorry.
Good try, though. And I would also like to suggest that the town board consider making the microphones so that you can actually hear. I was seriously standing in the doorway, and I couldn't hear a word that any of you were saying. Okay? I mean, that should be kind of embarrassing on some level. With respect to the LED lights, Amherst taxpayers would like to know what led to the decision that the light bulbs, and I want to put this next word in bold letters and italicized, needed to be changed. So I'm assuming that a quick answer from Brian Kolpa or Jackie Berger isn't available because you don't know that
I will
answer?
answer the question at the end.
Okay, that'll be great. And again, I'd like to focus on the word needed to be changed, okay? Because that's critical. What state or local regulation required that they needed to be changed? Was there something? Did the state or a local regulation that was somehow enacted say, yes, we absolutely, positively have to initiate this by a certain date, instead of actually having competent people go through an analysis and say, we should have done this in small pieces, and perhaps it would have been easier on us. Okay. Was there a hazard to the public? Because I will tell you something from experience. The utility light between my house and my neighbor's house, when it was a sodium light, lit between our houses all the way back to a 151-foot property line. These new LED improved, in air quotes, lights barely light halfway through. So while we're all sitting here getting robbed, our subdivision had our first larceny since I have moved into that property in January of 1995. Because you know what? Somebody went around somebody's side yard, put up a ladder in the back of his house, and broke a window. And you know why? I suspect that nobody could see that person around one of these, they call them ponds, I'll call them a drainage ditch. Nobody could sit there and see that person standing on a ladder because of these fantastic lights. Absolutely fantastic. All right, Councilwoman Berger, you said at the previous meeting there was an expected duration of time to the public to see the savings, and the duration of time changed. What factored into that? Or I assume that nobody can ever answer a quick question. All righty then. Oh, are we done? Sorry, this is my actual first meeting, so I'm not familiar with the bell system. Am I done?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I suspect that you folks and I will be seeing each other a lot.
Okay.
Enjoy your evening.
Julie Van Lenti, sorry.
Second try was good, thank you. My name is Julie Van Lenti. I reside at 116 Parkwood Drive in Snyder. And in keeping with the current theme from our group, we the people would like to know, did the board follow the OSC guidelines and procedures for the Westwood project? And was the process followed per the OSC when making determination to pass this project accurately and consistently communicated to the public throughout the process?
I will answer yes on both of those.
And the next thing is, how many different names was this project referred to? For example, Westwood Project, Amherst Central Park, PUD Amherst Central Park. Curious, why was this project referred to in so many different names? And in that line, does that actually constitute accuracy, consistency, and transparency per the OCS process?
The project was formerly known as Westwood, is currently known as Central Park, so yes.
Okay. Now, those things said, now I just have a comment. I'm going to refer back to 2003, the city of Buffalo. In 2005, the county of Erie were put under the auspices of fiscal management boards due to the chronic mismanagement of budget, including over patronage jobs, 18 in Erie County versus 4 in Rochester for the same functions, and all kinds of garbage if you look it up in the Buffalo News. I believe Amherst is headed for this with spending reserves, taking from here to there, and also just doing the same things that happen over and over and over again, no matter what party is in control. And I'm concerned you're going to head us all down to bankruptcy, let alone drive most of us out with an 11.42 budget, property taxes, and a reassessment plan for 2024. It was a shock, and frankly, I've learned over the decades. I'm a fifth-generation member of this Western New York area and have watched over the decades to see the promises made in every campaign, only to find out, in this case, 2 days later, the problems of the budgets and the increases that are coming to hit us in the face for the mismanagement that happened before, whether it was your board or the boards before you. And welcome, and we hope for better things, and thank you for your time.
All right, Tom Mislin.
Tom Mislin, 32 Joliet. Many of us here thought with all of the new building in Amherst, the new neighborhoods, the new businesses, we assumed that we were going to get a tax decrease. Silly us. We certainly were not expecting an 11% increase. Brian, 2 meetings ago, a woman stood up here and she asked you how she was supposed to afford this new large tax increase. Your suggestion was she seek out some of the Amherst assistance programs. I suggest that you guys find an assistance program. We are not your piggy bank.
Okay, Kim Gable. Kim Gable.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Kimberly Gable. I live on President's Walk in Williamsville. Before I start, I just quickly want to address everyone here and say that I am so proud to stand with all of you here. I can only speak for myself when I say that it's only been as of late that I have been able to take the interest in getting involved, and I have been very complacent, and I don't think any of us can afford to be that way any longer. So, although I could pick from myriad topics to discuss this evening, I'm going to keep my commentary short tonight, and this is directed to Supervisor Culpa concerning the relocation of the Buffalo Niagara Historical Village. Mr. Culpa, this past May, you informed Channel 7 News that you wanted, and I quote, to establish a space that is ultimately here for a long, long time to come. Now, if your statement for your intentions was true, my question to you is, why relocate what has for 47 years already served the community as an educational, historical center for the town and is continuing to do so? Why bother uprooting the entire village, no small feat, logistically or financially, when the purpose of the village is being met and served right where it is? Why bother forcing a move from its current 35-acre home that will potentially destroy the structural integrity of these 19th century buildings and houses, uproot a farm system of animals, and remove the entire village from where it is historically relevant on the Erie Canal to a predominantly residential area where it will be shoved into a space less than a third its original size with more traffic, congestion, noise, and ground pollutants? There is no sound answer as to why this move is necessary, and if you queried the town residents, I am sure we all agree. We do not need to spend time and money on this project. Leave the museum right where it is, and you have already fulfilled your statement to the news. Established in 1976, the museum is already in a space that will be there for a long, long time. Thank you.
Okay, Jane Cox. Jane Cox. She's there.
Jane Cox, Harlem Road. Sorry, I couldn't hear you call my name. When I read tonight's agenda, I thought an error had been made. Public expression number 1, which always follows the personal appointments to boards and committees section, did not appear on the agenda. There is only a public expression, which we're doing now, at the end of the meeting tonight. Allowing the public to speak on agenda items before the town board votes on them is important for our voices to be heard. Allowing the public a second chance to speak at the end of a meeting gives us the opportunity to comment on what has transpired during the meeting or to raise questions for clarification. That's why we have two. I have checked the prior year's January town board agendas. It has been a past practice to allow the public to speak twice at all these reorganization meetings. I would also like to point out the public was not allowed to speak because there was no public expression during the November 9th, 2023 special meeting. That meeting was the one where the town board voted to override the tax levy limit without the chance for the public to have input at the meeting. I see both of these actions limiting the public from speaking to be in direct opposition to transparency and open government. When you add to this the disappearing Open Government Advisory Board that we are supposed to have, it makes me wonder what is going on here. Why are we being shut out? And I would also like to comment on something you've already approved tonight, which is your budget calendar for this coming year. And this is the calendar that they approve in January that tells you when they are doing things on the budget. The calendar for this year shows that October 28th will be the public hearing on the budget, but the budget will not be adopted until November 12th, which will be once again past the November elections. In the past, the budget was always voted on before elections. Thank you for listening.
Okay, I'll correct it later. Okay, the next is Michelle Coffey.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Coffey. I live at 736 North French Road. First of all, I'd like to say I've been doing a little bit of observing. And number one, I'd like to say thank you to everyone that has spoken up. I haven't been in this room, it's been about 20 years. When I lived on Woodcrest in Amherst because there was a rat infestation in my home. So now I'm going to stand here and I'm going to see what I've observed from this current board. Ms. Marinucci, number one, thank you for listening and taking notes where we can tell that you're writing things down. Jacqueline Berger and Mr. Culpa, the eye rolling, the non-eye contact. And I'm going to continue to speak up on behalf of every resident here. The smirk on your face right now, I don't know how you sleep at night. You, Mr. Culpa, what are you doing? Playing hangman in your folder? And you want to raise my taxes 11.4%? My daughter is a full-time college student at the University of Buffalo. I am a single parent. I cannot afford my taxes to go up 11.4%. And to hear that it's going for LED lights in the Boulevard Mall, look at the Northtown Plaza. It's not only is it vacant and there's 20 cars in Whole Foods parking lot at a time, every single building that went up there is vacant and has cinder block, no glass, it's vacant, and you kicked out all of those retailers. No. Well, I'm not done. Yeah, the smirk. This is my passion and it's theirs. Costco. Are you kidding me? It is the love canal of Amherst. There are documented cases of childhood leukemia, rare cancers, and also of a police officer who passed away from a cancer who used to patrol that building. And up until recently, you let the Amherst police go in there so they could do explosions, and the Amherst police were exposed to those toxins. Okay? There's no room for any sort of traffic way through there. Where is our money going? I know where it's going. We all know where it's going. And I'm going to... Wait. Hold on a second. I'm going to end this on Brian Culpa's Facebook page. March 18th, 2021. My 8th grader thinks he's a more accomplished urban planner than me. Guess what? He's probably right, and everybody else would probably agree.
All right, Mr. Clee-Torres. Clee-Torres? Clee-Torres. Okay.
Put that in the budget.
What is? Oh God, you gotta be kidding me! All right.
I'm ready, Brian.
Sabine.
Dennis Hoban.
Please come forward. Go ahead.
Yeah, then you're ready. I will start.
I'm ready.
Thank you. Dear board members, and dear residents of Amherst, my name is Sabine Katt, and I'm living on 7-8 The Village Green. I'm here to address the following 3 issues. The 11.4% tax increase, the New York State tax cap, and the term limit of the Amherst board members, that's you. To the 11.4% tax increase for 2024. We call on you to withdraw this tax increase immediately. If this is not possible for any reasons, the money must be saved and returned to the taxpayers in 2024. Mr. Kulpa, you do not have to write anything down. I will send you this tonight by email, and then you will have plenty of time to read this and to respond. I ask you please to show me respect and look in my face when I talk to you.
I was writing down your comment, but thank you.
You don't have to. You will get it in writing from me. Don't worry. I would like to continue regarding the New York State tax cap. This cap exists for very strong reasons and needs to be enforced and followed permanently and without any exceptions. We don't want this kind of discussion again in the future. This has to come here to a very clear end. Third, the term limit of the board members cannot be exceeded. Term limits are the base of our democracy. And therefore, term limits cannot be exceeded and cannot be touched. I contacted you, the board members, by email several times. I used different channels to reach you, and I heard not back from you. I don't know what you write down about this, Mr. Kulpa. You did not respond to me. None of you responded to me. There was also no public announcing. There is nothing. You think you can sit this out and this all goes away? That's what you think. You are our representatives, and you have no right to ignore the people who elected you. This tax money is our money, and we elected you to act in our interest. You would not sit in these chairs if we would have known that you planned to remove the tax cap for a 1.4 increase. You would not sit there where you're sitting now. So that's the situation. That's the situation. But now, how do we move forward? That's the point. You don't have to paint circles and boxes while I'm talking. We expect you, we expect you to show us results at the next board meeting, Mr. Kulpa. The results need to be announced on the town's website at least 2 days in advance so that we can be prepared, come to this next meeting and give appropriate feedback. Until final solutions are reached, our demands must be on the agenda of all upcoming board meetings. Also, if you do not like that. I also would say in the end, let us know if you need help. It looks like you need help. And I tell you, there are plenty of people in the city of Amherst who know how to handle millions and millions of dollars within given budgets. So ask them, reach out and do that. And there are also plenty of ideas and suggestions from all kinds of directions. Yes, Mrs. Berger? To shape Amherst's future very successfully. Thank you for your attention. And I see you all at the next meeting. And then I'm looking forward to your answers.
Don Marshall. Don Marshall. Steve Steinberg.
I'm Steve Steinberg, 84 Willow Green. I don't have any written comments, but I'll tell you, there's obviously a theme going on, and everybody's spoken about their particular concern, and I want to thank you for the support you've given to my own pet projects. 3 of the 5 of you sitting there have helped me out on something that I had going on, and it's added up to a lot of money, and I appreciate it. And I know that your hearts are in the right place. But I want to put a twist on some of this governance issue that's coming up about how you represent us. Because I'm looking at 40-something resolutions, and I don't know how many of them were state-mandated, things that you got to do. Probably, I guess, 10 or 12 of them. Adds up to a lot of money. And the problem here is that there's a certain way of business that's being shoved down our throats from the top. And you're here to represent us, to do a little pushback up to the top. And I understand that costs are going up. I used to have a $20 bill in my pocket. Now it's worth about $15, which is what I spent on my cool hat. But I got to tell you, the amount that the town keeps raising taxes incrementally is one thing. 11.4% is just too much. And how much of that is because the way of doing business in the state of New York doesn't get any pushback. That's part of your job. You got to start pushing back. Get a set, get on the phone, call Kathy Hochul, and tell her there's a problem. When they tell you to do this, they tell me, I don't know if maybe the streetlights was a mandate. Let's assume it was. $33 million you had to spend. It wasn't even your choice. Let's assume it was. All right? You turn around, you say, we're not going to do it. And it's the town attorney's job, instead of saying you can't do that, figure out a way to do it. You get paid a lot of money to do that, to figure these legal things out. All of you have to get together and figure out who you're working for, which is the taxpayers. And you're just not doing it. You bend over and you take it from the state. You can't keep doing that. It was a long time ago, over 250 years, that some people got a little fed up with a 0.3% tax. It didn't matter that it was 0.3%. It's that somebody wasn't sticking up for them when that tax was passed. That's what caused the problem. And I walked in this morning, I didn't think this was much of a troublemaker bunch, but you got it. It's looking right at you. You got to turn around and do things different. And it's got to be the pushback going back up the ladder. And I know you're never going to do it. You're never going to do it. I'm going to sit here and listen to you, all the wonderful things you want to do and all the services you want to do, and I don't know how much of that budget is going to disappear because the state is telling you what to do.
Sharon Green. Sharon Green.
Good evening. My name is Sharon Green. I live at 50 Mapleton Drive. I moved to Amherst just 4 months ago, and I'm a senior citizen. Although I worked full-time for 39 years, I have no pensions, just Social Security. An 11.4% tax increase is not only incredibly harsh, it is unconscionable for Amherst's senior citizens and others with limited incomes. I implore this board, whom I'm just getting familiar with as a new resident here, to rescind this increase. A recent issue of the AARP magazine described programs in some municipalities across the country that invite senior citizens to volunteer in town or city offices in exchange for a reduction in their taxes. So my question is, has Amherst considered such a program? If so, please sign me up to volunteer so I can try to keep up with this exorbitant tax increase. If you have not yet considered such a program, I urge you to investigate and implement such a program or something similar in Amherst to help people on fixed incomes. We very much need your help if you insist on keeping this egregious tax increase. I can't call up Social Security and say, give me hundreds more dollars. It just doesn't work that way. Thank you so much for listening.
John Trabert.
John Trabert, 234 Mount Vernon Road. Can everybody hear me? I'm just aghast at this streetlight project, and I realize we're beating a dead horse, but I'm going to go over some figures that Mr. Compo was kind enough to provide for me when I emailed him. So I give him credit for emailing me back. So the number of streetlights to be replaced in the town of Amherst, approximately 9,600 streetlights. The cost per light, $3,475. That total cost, $33,360,000. The town of Amherst is going to bond $33 million. If you take a 10-year bond at 4%, that $33 million turns into $40 million. Simple interest, that's 4%. If you get 3%, it's $38 million. If you pay 5%, it's $42 million. Mr. Colpa declares in the Amherst B, November 8th of 23, that the town will save $500,000 per year changing over to the lighting. He also claims that this will be paid back, this bond, $33 million or $40 million in 15 to 20 years. Well, if you have a savings of $500,000 a year and you got to finance $40 million for it, I believe that payback is 80 years. Now, the longevity of these lights, Mr. Colpa responded that the longevity is up to 30 years. If you do research on the internet, people will tell you that these lights are good for 10 to 15 years. That doesn't include any damage that could be incurred and anything else. So if you look in an 80 years that it takes to recoup your costs, and these things last 15 years, you are already replacing these lights about 6 times. What's that going to cost? This project is completely irresponsible. Completely irresponsible. I regret saying this, but it appears that money's going into somebody's pocket. I'd like to ask Mr. Colpa if he knows a gentleman by the name of Russell Gugino. Russell Gugino is on the executive board of the Erie County Conservative Party. Mr. Gugino pushed heavily for LED lights in Williamsville. He didn't get his way. They simply changed the bulbs in Williamsville through a program through National Grid and saved a lot of money. I want Mr. Colpa to answer this question at the end. Has he ever had a meeting, a conversation, an email, any sort of contact with Mr. Russell Gugino regarding the LED street lights? And what would Mr. Gugino's interest be in the LED street lighting? Thank you.
Anthony Chirico.
Anthony Chirico, 78, The Village Green. To the board, thank you for having me. I'd like to talk about the special meeting that happened in November where you apparently had a meeting that was not following the proper rules for meetings, yet went ahead and passed an 11.4% tax increase back in November. Now, it's no secret that the community is upset. There's over 100 people sitting here in this room. And so you can multiply this by 10 or whatever figure you want to try to estimate what the real sense of outrage is in the community. It's a big number. You were elected to be our representative, to act in our interests with our money. Now, since November, I have failed to hear of a legitimate plan that you have. You've heard suggestions about rescind the 11.4 altogether. You just heard a discussion about the LED lights. What's your response? What is your answer? I have heard nothing. November, December, January, nothing. So I can only assume that you're hoping that somehow this will just go away. It's not going away. Now, my real challenge I'd like to throw out there is to the community, to every one of you sitting in a chair here by name. I challenge you to contact 5 people that you know and influence them and make them well aware of what's going on here. And ask those 5 people to contact 5 more people. Right? And I want you to remember the names: Berger, Kulpa, Lavin, Zuccalla, and make sure they never hold another office in Erie County. Thank you.
Is there another list? Don's just signing up. Dennis, you're up.
Well, here I am again. There's a sign. I'm going to admit, it said in Amherst, I admitted to making these signs. Is my time start yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Can everybody hear me? Everybody hear me pretty good? All right. Dennis Hoban, 216 California Drive. I'd like to start out by welcoming Angela. You didn't get a name tag yet. You're not supposed to speak, remember? All right. Oh, welcome. You work for Erie County? Oh, Madam Berger. Hey, who's in charge here, Culpa or Berger? Don't answer that. Don't answer that. You're out of... All right, sorry, Madam Berger, I'm out of order. I don't want to be a bully. What happened? All right. I want to reiterate what I said several weeks ago, if I can recall. Dictators are not born, they are created. And they are created by those who give them the power they crave. Supervisor Brian Culpa wishes to have a third term. I cannot speak more emphatically about that. He will deny it, but he wants to have a third term. He went to the Pat Lucy, who used to be the supervisor or the superintendent of the highway, and he wanted him to go for a third term to test the waters. Brian wanted to know how I found out my information. Well, I have my sources. I have my sources, Brian. And I will answer questions because the board apparently won't. I, first of all, would like to just say one thing before I get cut off, because this is really important. I wish they had a camera on me right now, because there's like 130 or 140 residents in the town of Amherst, and I certainly wish that there were like 15 or 20,000 taxpayers that would show up at one of these meetings, okay? Because I think if 25,000 people showed up, well, first of all, they probably have to call more police in. I think the one guy out there ain't gonna help too much. But I'm not, and I'm asking for a peaceful meeting, you know. But I really, and I'm not a bully. If anybody knows me, I'm really not a bully. I'm just really angry about 26% increase in your taxes in 3 years, and they're gonna come and reassess you. They're gonna come out and reassess you, so it's going up. They're gonna whop. They're gonna just keep hitting you, you know. And it's spend. That gentleman was up earlier. He's absolutely right about the village of Williamsville got a super deal on these LED lights. I happen to live in the village of Williamsville. And you know what's really interesting is Brian used to be the mayor of Williamsville. So he's completely aware of this program that National Grid had. He probably could have got that for the town of Amherst. He's not going to answer any questions right now, but pardon me? Well, $33 million for these LED lights is ridiculous, and I'm just throwing it out there. This is a challenge. I would like everyone that owns a home in the town of Amherst to show up at the next meeting, okay, and voice your opinion. One other thing I'm really interested in. Brian Culpa says the 150 people or whoever shows up, over 100 people, 120 people that show up at these meetings. Apparently, you people are all misinformed, according to Mr. Culpa. You're all misinformed. But what's interesting is, like, I don't hear anybody coming up to this podium and saying how great it is that the taxes are increasing. I don't hear anybody coming up here that voted for them saying, I voted for these people and I love what they're doing. I don't hear anybody. Is anybody here, just one person? God bless you if you got enough chutzpah to come up here. Is anybody that voted for them happy about what they're doing? Could you come up to join me at the podium here? If you're happy.
Thanks, Dennis.
I'm pretty okay. Tomorrow in the Bee, it's going to say I'm a bully again. But frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. You know? I have had it. I have had it with these people, and we have to remember their names. Mike, his name's going to be a little harder to remember, but you know, I give this guy credit. At least he answered a couple of my questions.
Thank you. Have a seat, please.
But, okay, thank you. And Mr. Lavin did not. Okay. Thank you. Welcome, Angela. Brian, you want to leave this for you?
Sure. All right. Tina Gentry. Tina Gentry.
Good evening. My name is Gina Gentry. I reside at 65 Bissell. First of all, Ms. Marinucci, welcome. You have some big shoes to fill because the only person that voted against this tax increase is now not on the board. I find it interesting. I'm here more to speak to the crowd than you, but I decided to look up Amherst Town Code, and I found a quote by Niccolo Sturgeon. I think it is important that communities are listened to and that their voice is heard, particularly with local government, because you are talking very much about communities. That speaks about you, local government, listening to the people and to the voices that have been up here talking to you today about this crazy tax increase. This isn't going to hurt the lawyers, no offense. This isn't going to hurt the doctors. This is going to hurt moms and pops. This is going to hurt my family. This is going to hurt the middle class. And you want to revitalize the Boulevard Mall. What are you going to revitalize it with? What's going to go into the next to Whole Foods? All the businesses, they don't want to have this tax increase. What are you going to bring? You're killing our small businesses. You're killing our communities. The very quote that you have on the Amherst website. Sorry. I'm Italian, so I'm usually loud, but this isn't. I figured because I was local, I would eat the microphone. So you're killing everything around us, and it's all for your profit. You know what they get? They get their salaries, but then at the end of their term, they get whatever is in their campaign fund. So they're walking away with double, if not triple, what they have. So all those fundraisers that maybe some of you all supported is going in their pockets. So when you sit here and say you are a single family income and, oh, you're burdened by this tax too, you're not burdened by it, and you know that. So now I'll talk to here because I heard somebody come up and say how the citizens, you need to get involved because this isn't going to change until we change it. And the only people are the people in this room. So my question is, and I'm going to take a little survey, and I hope you all participate. If you are going to vote for one of these lovely, we'll leave you out of it till next term. If we are going to vote for one of these lovely people up here that decided to vote for the tax increase, raise your hand. Okay. If you are going to do everything in your power to get these people out of office in their next election, please stand up. Thank you. That's what it is. You don't know if they're Democrat, you don't know if they're Republican, you don't know if they're independent. You don't know what they are, but they are your constituents, and you need to listen to them. Because your time is up, your seat is up. This is done. And if this is the number of people, they have 10 other friends that they're going to talk about. And let me tell you, a term that was coined back in 2019 from a downstate mother that was fed up with the politics of New York State because they were corrupt, you will never have the comfort of our silence again. Keep showing up and fight.
Don Smith, oh, sorry, I almost skipped Alicia Schreier.
New board member Angela, I'll catch you up. I'm here again to speak on the project on Sheridan Drive, the rezoning, but I too am against the 11.4% tax hike. But I'm speaking on a different matter. I'm here to speak every time I have an opportunity to remind you that our neighborhood is against this rezoning. I'm here again today. The existing neighborhood strongly objects to the rezoning of 4774 and 4780 Sheridan Drive from R3 to R4, Resolution 2023-957. We have gone through this before several years ago when a developer wanted to build 14 single home residences on that same piece of property. At that time, it is my understanding that at least 178 surrounding neighbors objected to that project. And we are going to continue to object to this project. 100 years ago, the value of green spaces in residential neighborhoods was widely appreciated and understood. Now, at a time when we speak of environmental conservation as critical to our future, we have suddenly forgotten the value of this particular green space. In Amherst, there are plenty of new housing projects for those who are seeking that kind of neighborhood. According to Business First, Amherst issued 424 building permits for new housing units in 2022, the most of any municipality in Erie County, and far above second place Buffalo with 245. Amherst, enough is enough. The residents of the existing neighborhood are there because we value the older, gracious neighborhood with green space, and especially we value our wildlife. Let's preserve part of Amherst for those of us who are like-minded. Every square inch of green does not need to be filled. Our wildlife does not need to be pushed out of their homes. I, for one, would rather see this town purchase that 5 acres and plant even more trees there than to allow a brownfield cleanup project to churn up land that is considered contaminated by nurseries, fertilizers, and chemicals. Now I want to turn attention to Savarino Companies and RAS Development for a moment. According to Buffalo Business First and the Post-Journal, the Gleason Nursery project is a crossover project. What I mean by that is that the project was initiated by Savarino Companies. Savarino Companies declared bankruptcy this past summer after 23 years in business. This decision, after a failed dormitory renovation project at SUNY Alfred College. The RAS Development Company has picked up not only Gleason, but several other projects from the failed company. And what I'm going to ask is, what assurance does Amherst even have that once launched, this project would be completed on a timely basis with these crossover projects? I have other unanswered questions that I've asked before, and I don't know what happens if additional ground cleanup is needed after construction and the proposed association cannot afford it. Am I done?
Go ahead, finish your thought.
What happens to the wildlife? What happens to the neighbors on Jordan and Fleetwood if this new construction causes flooding in their properties? What happens if the brownfield cleanup at such a close range causes neighbors to get sick? At the last meeting, at least 32 neighbors came in person to object to this rezoning and this project in front of our town board. We want you to act in our interest. Imagine if it was in your backyard, affecting your children and grandchildren, that a brownfield cleanup was being proposed. Wouldn't you be against it? Wouldn't you be against filling in the green area with units that are out of character for the neighborhood? Once again, I'm here to say I'm against the rezoning for double unit dwellings, against the extra burden on the storm drains, against the extra draw on the utilities, against the extra traffic, against the disruptive construction, and against disturbing the contaminated ground, which is so close to people's houses. Please join me to preserve this old and gracious Amherst neighborhood as it is. Thank you.
John Smith. Don.
Don Smith, North Long. First, I want to say to Ms. Marinucci, you have a very, very big shoes to fill in Dr. Buckeye. She was one of the best people we've ever had on the board. I'm hoping that you will fill in the same vein that she did in terms of being independent and voting for the residents and for the good of the town. That's the first thing I have to say. Secondarily, I'd like to thank the supervisor for doing something that never happened before when I used to lament that we didn't have many people coming to town board meetings. Apparently, he's been able to induce many people to come to town board meetings, and I've always felt that was an increase in the voice of the people. That's a good thing from my point of view. I love to see the people here saying what they want to say. Unfortunately, I think the board has a big job ahead of itself in what I think is a problem repairing trust in the town. I don't know how you're going to do it, but it's a big problem and you have to do it. So you got to start working on that. You got to come up with something that builds back trust in your leadership, or you won't have any leadership. Thank you. But the other part I want to say is, when Jane Cox mentioned that there was this is the first public expression of a meeting, I like to say that you missed that. People have to remember there's things called the town code, which is town law, and there's something called the rules of order, which is rules that the board puts in place, where they put in the place of how they hold their meetings. The meetings are by rules of order, which they themselves can adjust and change and do from time to time. But I suspect leaving out public expression is a bad rule to break on your part. And the second one to break is not responding to the people when they ask you specific questions. If you don't do that, I think you're going to lose more credibility and make the process of rebuilding trust worse. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks. I see one person filling out the sign-in sheet, so if you want to come up, please feel free. We'll catch the sheet at the end.
Good evening, everyone. After listening to the same
Can you
issues.
just state your name and address for record?
I'm sorry.
Can you state your name and address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mary Jane Zak, Z-A-K, 142 Bauman Road, Williamsville, a resident of this beautiful community since 1972. After listening to these very valid points for almost 3 months, I want to reiterate, and I've noticed on this agenda here, and yes, I'm not being negative, I'm being real. Real talk versus negativity, there's a big difference. The resolution 2024 number 37 refers to transfers, budget transfers and amendments. This might be a good place when you listen, speak in private with one another of where to take and postpone some of these expenses and put them in a different area. I don't know how this all plays out, but it could be done if you have a willingness to do it. Also, the page 8 that refers to the number 47 item, real property, appraisers, and the assessor's office. That is going to obviously be another challenge, which may be addressed this year or postponed. It's okay to postpone things. So, with that being said, I'd like to move into quickly housing needs. We have an aging population here, and we also have people who prefer to select renting an apartment versus buying a home. Those people, too, are taxpayers. Through the properties that they rent, they very definitely will be seeing an increase in the rents, which have been happening over the last 12 to 18 months drastically. I'm also a real estate broker, so I'm very familiar with all these items. The other mention that I would want to have, and there's so many, is that an actual concerned citizens envelop your space of influence. We can come with some influence and real care about the public. So you may want to, as one of the individuals alluded to, invite us because we do have much intelligence and wisdom in this room alone. I don't think it's going on deaf ears anymore. But what I think is, you're wondering, how will we fix this? How will we stop? Because next month we are going to do what another speaker invited us to do. Each person here invite 5, those invite 5, so that you could see the power of the presence of the people along with the words of the people, and that we care about our town. It's not so much the increase that might come to $1,000. Yes, of course, that's a lot. But it's where you're spending our money. The line items are unnecessary. That's what we're trying to drill down and drill home. Please do not let our requests fall upon your deaf ears. And yes, It's not a dishonor to anyone on the board to postpone or reallocate line items. So we're going to keep coming till you right this wrong. That's it. Bye-bye.
Okay, let's start with Happy New Year. Okay, it's a new year. And welcome, Angela Marinucci. You'll be great.
Name and address. Name and address.
I forgot, it's a new year. It's Shelley Schratz, 1952 Kensington Avenue, Amherst, New York. A lot of things were said here tonight. And I will say, when I chose to run for office and I didn't win, I'm really grateful that I didn't win. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Because it's you that give me what God wants me to do. And this isn't it. This is you. It's you. It's all of us together, okay? When I was on the town board, I didn't need help from anybody because the residents came to me and offered me help and taught me what was needed to do, and I did it. The streetlights, Jackie? It's by the grace of God today, I spoke to the man that got us out of the contract when we were going to do the streetlights. And it was going to cost us millions and billions of dollars. And guess what? We made a mistake. He said bad. The city of Buffalo is going down the same route. I don't know where we are with this. But I said, I'll send you the papers, look at it, and tell me what you think. We're already into it. My point is this. For whatever reason, and I mean this respectfully, when I was on the board and when Susan Grelick was the supervisor, we didn't always see eye to eye, but she spoke. The person in that seat was me spoke. Bill Kindle spoke. Jenny Woodward spoke. Every one of us responded. It didn't go to millions of hours into the night because we kept talking. It was because they were answering our questions. And that... And if, believe it or not, and Angela, for you especially because you're new, when you answer their questions up here in front of the people, whether there's a camera here or not, you know what you give them? You give them respect. When you give them respect, you will get it back. And you will have people wanting to work with it. I know that's in you. Michael, I'm a little disappointed. And I say that respectfully too, because you told me if here, you may need to talk to me, there's things we need to talk about in case you win or whatever the issue was. You showed up to the people from Snyder. You're in there. And Jackie, stop telling everyone not to speak. I know you, no, wait a minute. I know you're doing it for the right reasons that you think. But all that does is make people disrespect what you bring to the table. Everybody brings something to the table, but we're going to the same table. And we have thousands of signatures. These people, every time we say, we're telling five, I don't care how many people vote for you. I don't care if you win again. We should care about what's going to happen tomorrow. And we are making bad choices, and I will say this, Brian. There is no need at this moment in our time to do that Westwood project and move those properties. And why do I say that? Just because we have contracts and we have all these other plans and everything else. No one is dying on that empty property, but people have their homes. You're going to uproot. You're going to do all of these things. And I'm going to ask you, why did we buy the house on Cayuga in the village of Williamsville for $1 million? I don't need your answer because I know you're not allowed to answer. All I'm saying and I'm not being facetious, what I'm saying is that everybody is struggling somewhere in their life. Everybody has said it one way or another. You've got your computers open. Now, I make meatballs, and I don't use computers and all that other stuff. Me sitting back there, looking at you with your computers, I feel like I'm dumb. I didn't go to college. I know I'm not dumb. I'm smarter than most people. Why? Because I've surrounded myself with smart people that teach me, and I'm not afraid to ask, what should I do today? Not that. What should I do tomorrow? Do it that way. Close the computers. If one more person asks me why you're on the computers, I go, I don't know.
I know, but then close them, because they're judging you for not paying attention, okay? Brian, I know what you can bring to the table when you answer questions. You bring your thoughts, your solutions, and no one's ripping you apart. They're not agreeing with you. Jackie, when you don't speak, they're judging you, and you're new. So you got new blood. Let's go. Let's change this. We don't need that property right now. You can put musical fair, and how insulting was it to get a notice from musical fair to my husband's email that last night, yesterday, the town of Amherst, they voted to approve the Westwood project after you were already filmed during the day with everybody there, okay, except you, okay, holding a $41 million check. So that says don't trust them money in your pocket. Why do I say all this to you? I paid for my campaign out of my daughter's wedding, okay? I raised some money, not a whole heck of a lot. Every time I turned and made a mess out of something and people thought, but it was successful in the town for the people, things would happen. Guess what, folks? You get audited. But you don't get audited because they're going to find anything. They know you're going to have to pay $35,000 for a forensic accountant, $35,000 for an attorney. That's why people don't want to come up here and run. That's why people don't want to open their mouth. But you know what? I thank you, God, for putting me here, because I've made so many new friends. Saw people that are in their 90s that I haven't seen that still live in the village, and they're scared to death. But these people here, they're going to rally. And we're done. We're done playing your game. I'm not the head of it. We're all the head of it. We are in charge of ourselves, and you have a job to do. So the next board meeting, when we come, without hiding behind the computer or don't answer, I think each one of you should really examine your conscience, rules or not, go back and look at all the other. Susan Grelick never let anyone not talk. She would say to Bill Kindle, answer the question. We all work together. Make a liar out of me. Don't do your job. I know you're capable. You were elected to do it. And if you have children, they will remember what you leave back as a legacy. As though that was the guy or that was the lady that didn't do their job. Happy New Year.
Anybody else?
Julie Van Lente, 116 Parkwood Snyder. This will probably be one of the hopefully easier questions of the night. As a regular person trying to educate myself, I've been to the last several board meetings, and all these resolutions are listed. And here we are with the organizational meeting, and I fell down a rabbit hole going through the town code and every meeting agenda, minute, packet, everything from the whole last year. And I still could not find the names of the people who are reappointed and appointed for all these committees and heads of things. And I'm just wondering, as a regular person, why aren't they listed in here? Is it a safety reason, or you're just voting to reappoint, but there's no name here, so I couldn't dig through to figure out who was what for what, going through all the minutes from all of last year to find out as a regular person trying to dig my way through the volumes of stuff. So
I'm going to answer all these questions in a minute once we're done with public expression. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. It's once per, but if you're going to clarify something.
Make a statement. Tom Weisbeck, 48 Drawbridge Court, on the streetlight issues. In the city of Buffalo, back in the 90s, they were trying to take over the street lighting. The reason why the city of Buffalo was trying to take over the street lighting was because they were overcharged by 50 years by Nagamawk/Nagamoha. That was the reason why they were trying to take over the streetlights. But this is different issues.
I understood.
So I just want to let the people
Thank
know what happened in the city of Buffalo, so you know.
Okay.
I know, but you brought up about the city of
Tom,
Buffalo.
thanks.
Just want to let.
Thanks. Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anybody who hasn't spoken yet that wishes to speak? Okay.
Supposed to put my name on this, Sharon Kalika,
Just go ahead, state your name and address, and that's fine.
88 Tristan Lane.
Okay.
Again, I'm with the Gleason Nursery and the rezoning. The reason why you didn't hear from people before on this RAS development, Robert Zavarino, because he, not many people he told in the neighborhood about it. From my block, Tristan, there was only one person. And when I got the letter from her, I started telling people about it. There's many, we did tell you about key points about the difference in the ground grade. We told you about the 2 water main breaks on Fleetwood. This is a recap I'm telling you about, so I'll try to be brief as possible. And on this proposed 11 double unit, 22 2-unit homes, it's going to be with using the same old drain and plumbing infrastructure. The concerns that we have are the flooding in the backyards and the additional utility compromises that it will have. Many residents indicate that they do not want this brownfield cleanup, which is a low, not the greatest cleanup, but he's using this company because he also is using the company for a venture that he has in the city on this Buffalo Lake side Commerce Park. We're building this built-to-suit business complex, which I emailed all of you this morning. I have copies for all of you and hard copies. And I also attached this morning the ad from the Buffalo News that was in October 20th on his development, that he's going to be working on other things in the city on top of this development here on Sheridan Road. Also concerns is that you said yourself in a December 20th edition in Buffalo Bee paper, Brian, that we need low-income housing with Kathy Hochul, our governor, and he is building $500,000 homes again. We don't need high-income luxury homes. We already have 5 developments already in Amherst and Williamsville ourselves right now, and there's still inventory available in these 5 properties, which is the Essex Woods, the Stone Patios, and the Fairwood Estates. Okay, attached in the email, which I have hard copies for you now as well. I never came out of my house to do any board meetings, wrote a letter, spoke in person. As you can see, I'm not a great speaker, but I had to do this and to voice my opinion because in the last few months, I found out about the tax raise, this 22 city-style homes, this uncontaminated land, plus this Westwood country-style club and moving museums, farm animals, and theater. It's just a little too much. Okay, thank you. This was the package that he gave out to people, but he only gave it out to very few people.
Okay.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to address the board. Gene Civic, 34 Wick Street. Welcome to the board. Mr. Lavin, I have a question for you. You're an Army veteran, correct?
I'll answer after.
It's a yes or no question.
So I'm not a veteran. I currently serve as a captain.
Okay. So, as an Army officer.
Air Force.
Okay. Well, I said
That's okay.
Army. Okay, as an Air Force officer, what is your job?
I do personnel, human resources.
No, let's get to the nitty gritty. Your job is to take care of your people, right?
Yes.
Is that? I'm retired, 34 years with the Navy. So I'll let you figure out. Thank you. I'll let you figure out what rank I retired at. Our job as officers, and this goes across the board, but I'm addressing Mr. Lavin because he is an Air Force captain, is to take care of our people. These are your people. You said on the news a few months ago that this tax increase was discussed prior to the announcement. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, you did. Going back to the military, a lot of times you have to get down to the nitty-gritty before people understand what's going on. A lot of people didn't understand until it was announced after the election that it was going to be an 11.4% increase. That is what got the people's ire up, the 11.4. There might have been the numbers there before, but the numbers don't mean anything to a lot of people until you come out and simplify it. And I don't mean that in a derogatory means. Until you put it in simple terms, 11.4%. That's when it was understood. Until then, nobody knew. And you decided to, when I say you, I don't mean you individually, as a board, announce this after the election. There was a purpose to that. There was a purpose to announcing it after the election. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Margot Davis, and I am Kings Highway in Bernhardt, 328 Kings Highway. Lifelong Amherst resident. Left, came back for all the same reasons I left, and I'm glad I'm here. Color me very naive or very crazy or whatever, but I started hearing about the Boulevard Mall years ago. Started watching you do what you're doing and they do what they were doing. I saw years ago the beginning of the park, the Amherst Park. And I just thought, well, that's really nice. That's okay. But I have two confusions. One is I'm trying to figure out what the town of Amherst, in a supervisory capacity for the town of Amherst, has to do with getting so involved with the development of something. I mean, color me naive, but then the more I'm sitting here, the more I'm thinking my eyes have been put behind a blindfold. And so my one question is that, why so involved with the development? And that's primarily for you, Mr. Culpa, and I know your big goal is development, but supervising comes first. And secondly, knowing those things were happening several years ago, as well as I read, I think it was in February of 22, there was a bond issue regarding the new lighting. Is that correct? Do I have it right? Yes. Yes. And that was for something like $33 million. Now that was back in February, that was back in February of 22. So we knew that, we knew Westwood, we knew the Boulevard Mall. Now, even me, my little income fixed, and my little ways of doing my own finances, if I know that I'm going to be spending money on things, I kind of look then as to where's it going to come from and maybe should I do it or not. And so I'm wondering, when was it that you knew that this was going to have to happen? Thank you.
Anyone else? Sorry, I thought I was getting up to speak. All right, if not, I'm going to motion to close public expression.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, I'm going to go through a series of answers to some of the questions that were asked today. So I'm taking these kind of in order as I receive them. I'm going to save the street lighting one to last. I know Mr. Weisbeck was early on, and that crossed over a number of people. Sure. I'm going to go through a number of answers to some of these questions. I'm going to ask everybody's respect as I get through them. First, there was a comment made and kind of asking about the town and spending through reserve and putting in terms of, this was in terms of control boards and what I want to clarify is this town board put in place an imposed 10% fund balance minimum. And we did that specifically so that you couldn't spend down the reserves. When we did that, right, that was an objective, was to make sure that moving forward, the town had a policy in place that said we will have a minimum 10% fund balance. To this day, we've maintained that. Now, prior to me coming into office, this town board taking office, the town had run a series of budget deficits. So the town board currently operates in a direction that says we're not going to run a deficit. We're going to do an actual budget, balanced budget. The town had undervalued its own insurance program for years. Those deficits further drained the reserve. As we move forward, right, when I put together a budget, it's a supervisor's budget that gets advanced to the town board for review and amendment. We do that in a way that maintains a balance, a true balance, income versus expense. And that's been the policy. It's why on the audit side, we've been very clean with our finance. It's why we continue to have a positive outlook with our credit ratings. And again, this is the direction we've been, as a board, move forward. I've gotten questions about this year's budget and changes that were made to this budget that we did not have in years prior. And one of those is that this year we moved to pull items that would have been previously spent out of capital, meaning borrowed out of bond actions, including police and highway vehicles, into the budget itself. That's about a $1 million mark on this year's budget. But given the current level of interest rates, it seemed prudent to not do annual purchasing with 5-year to 15-year bond actions, instead to move forward and pull that onto the budget. It's a burden that past boards have not been willing to do because it meant a tax increase, including my own board, right? It's been very difficult to figure out when we're actually going to do this. But with interest rates going where they have, it's obvious that we need to do that. When I get to the question of individual tax decrease and increase and the commercial properties, I don't know where the gentleman was who asked that question. Why hasn't the commercial properties changed? One of the answers to that is we need to rebalance the commercial properties, right? We're at a 60% tax valuation right now. That means having the city of Buffalo and the town of Cheektowaga reval their entire communities. Erie County's looked at us and said, you're at about 60% tax valuation. That means that we are probably about 2 years behind when we should be doing a reassessment. The reason this board had elected to, as somebody mentioned, pause or postpone the reassessment the prior 3 years had been because with property values in the commercial market being challenged during COVID, and COVID as a function of why people were challenging their property values, we were unwilling to do a reval that would have shifted the property valuation more heavy towards single-family detached units. What's clear right now is the single-family detached market has stayed very, very strong, as has the condo market. And those numbers have continued to stay strong. However, our commercial market didn't take the tank that developers and people challenging their assessed valuation years ago during COVID thought it would. And so now it's the time to try to rebalance that so that the tax burden can shift more towards the commercial end. As far as the Buffalo Niagara Heritage Village, why reallocate the space or why relocate? That's an item that I suspect we'll continue to hear conversation about for the next couple of years. Right now, we have an underutilized asset. The prior town board, Councilwoman Buckeye included, thought it would be in the town's best interest to see the space reallocated. As we know from state mandate, we need to build a better archive center. Ours is on the former Nike base and in tough condition. It's not adequate for a town of our size, so we have to basically spend money to either build a new archive space, or we could take the old museum building, use it as an archive center, and use the money to fund a new museum space. That's a balancing question. It's something that we have to answer in future years. In terms of reorganization and the 2 times public expression, frankly, I guess I was unaware that we had twice public expression in past reorganizations. Many communities don't do public expression anthem. We kept ours on the agenda, albeit at the end. And Jane, if it was before and after last year, then I'll apologize, and next year we'll do it before and after. October 15th and the 28th are the public hearing dates for the budget, not the 28th and into November. There are 2 scheduled. The budget will be presented in the beginning of October. So with special meetings, it's up to this board. Past boards, under both supervisors before me, have held special meetings. Special meetings do not need to have public expression. However, right, there's difference if there's an open public hearing or if a public hearing's been closed. I expect this town board to follow the procedures set in our agenda, no matter what it is. I understand. I get it. This is my opportunity to respond, Shelley. Okay. I'm taking this opportunity to respond to questions. Regarding the Costco or the Northtown Plaza, in terms of kicking businesses out, this town board, nor did the prior town board, no town board had anything to do with businesses being asked to leave. The project was solely happened upon in the private sector. WS Development purchased the former Northtown Plaza, did whatever they did, unregulated by this town except for the old GB zoning. This town board has asked those developers to consider mixed use, to consider other forms of development so we wouldn't have vacancy. That is a scenario that was caused by past zoning and frankly a lack of involvement by the town in terms of the private sector process. That was done well before Whole Foods went in. That Whole Foods was part of the development, and I wish that would have been done another way by another board at another time. It wasn't. We've tried to correct. WS Development has property rights. We've rezoned it to include mixed use. WS built under the current zoning. There's limited amount that we can do, but we continue to push them. Regarding Costco and the UB Annex, the UB Annex buildings have been a problem for this town for some time. It was a deteriorated property prior to Benderson Development buying it. Benderson Development purchased the property. Again, it's a private sector investment. The town simply put in place mitigation measures to ensure that development at that site would have to pay for roads and road reconstruction. To that tune, there's some 1.4 million that will be paid to the town by Benderson Development to work on roads and infrastructure as part of the mitigation fees that this town board put in place during an EIS in that area. Regarding the tax increase, and we can't pull back a tax increase. We can't undo a budget, and we have to pay our debts and we have to pay our contracts. The town has already put in austerity measures into this term, into this budget year, including a six-month hiring freeze for additional positions, and that we expect to have some opportunity. We also offered a VSI, or voluntary separation incentive. We will continue to do that as we move forward through this year. My goal is to return a surplus at the end of every year. Some years we've been better placed than others. Regarding term limits, I don't believe in term limits for highway or clerk's office. That's something that I shared with Pat Lucy readily, and I would gladly share with anybody who asked. I believe that highway superintendents and clerks are the core of how this town operates, and I've always maintained that. I've never said anything to the contrary regarding my own. No one plans to exceed tax caps. Tax caps are state mandates that were put in place to try to continue to encourage governments to reduce and or hold tax rates in their tax levies as close to 2% as possible. However, sometimes results of given years, of given contracts, and of given projects take their toll on the town, and you have to correct, and we have to take steps forward. Regarding state mandates, no doubt state mandates are an issue. It's one of the reasons why I participate with the Association of Erie County Governments and why I continue to be participatory in the Association of New York State Towns. However, we can't just blame state mandates, right? There are good and bad state mandates. There are issues that we have to deal with as a community as well. The volunteer for reduction in tax idea, frankly, it's news to me. I forget who said it.
It was in today's email from AARP.
Okay.
I got.
It's not a bad idea. It's something that we would, I'm willing to investigate all sorts of ideas like that. We'll get to the lighting project in a moment, as I mentioned, but I do want to address the question of Russ Gugino. Russell Gugino is, in fact, the Deputy Conservative Party Chairman. He is also a proponent of LED conversions. He does have clients in the industry. His clients are not the contractors that were selected for the project. Russ feels very strongly about conversion projects and about taking lights back from National Grid, and has for some time. I have had conversations with him. I suspect many of us have. Regarding a response plan, I heard that term thrown out. Councilman Lavin had put in an amendment into the tax cap override. We do plan on dealing with response planning through our Amherst citizens. What's the ag fab? Yeah, the budget overview committee, and that is something that we will look forward to working with them on, as we did this year, right? We're going to again look at the Gleason's question. The reason why the town board has taken a pause on that action. It's largely because residents brought to our attention the severity of the brownfield issue. I'm looking for those people. The reality is we, as a town board, don't know a ton about that brownfield condition. We only know what's on paper in front of us, and I suspect that myself and the rest of the town board have a lot of interest in making sure that sites get cleaned up. We don't necessarily want to leave contaminants in the ground. However, we don't want to see them cleaned up illegitimately. And so we have a lot of work to do as a town board to deal with the level of contamination and ensuring that the right contaminant or decontamination plan is in place, whether it's through this rezoning or not. Regarding the budget transfers and amendment question, budget transfers and amendments are made in a current year's budget. Budget gets put into place on November 20th by state law. It's locked in. The county begins printing tax bills immediately. You can't unring that bell. However, the town board has, throughout the past few years, done a good job of managing our budgets, not hitting deficits, and returning surpluses. This year, we did not return the same surplus we had in years past, in part due to a number of hirings that we had to fill vacant positions. Assessments and the postponement idea, I think I talked about why this town board is looking at an assessment. That's going to be a question to move forward with. Regarding aging population rentals and the needs for housing, no doubt we need affordable housing. That question came up during the Gleason's issue. It's something I've been harping on. This board has, except for Angela, I should say this board, the past town boards have pushed, though I have a feeling Angela would probably echo sentiments about needing affordability in housing. Regarding the tax increase, I heard $1,000. And I just want to clarify that the expected tax increase on 300, I'm looking at where my comptroller is here for insurance. The expected tax increase on $300,000 home is $280. Is that correct? So it's not 1,000. I know there's some other numbers that are out there. People have guesstimated at 10% of their mortgage. I know that's not nothing. I know that $280 is something. I also share in that burden. I don't have a. You can say no, but fine. We all share in that burden. Regarding the building in Williamsville. Okay, I'm answering questions that were asked. Regarding the building in Williamsville, 2 prior town supervisors commissioned studies of this building to figure out ways that they could either infill the courtyard or expand through the parking lot or expand vertically on top of the building. All of those resulted in multi-million-dollar costs. We had an opportunity to buy a building for additional space that contained active leases, which we continue to use as revenue lines, that would be the future and will allow for expansion within this building. It was an easy decision given the likely costs that were commissioned in the studies by prior boards. As far as why we don't publish names, it's an HR question. This town has.
They were referring to the other appointments. They were looking at.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. They were not looking at the full agenda. You're looking at a summary.
Okay.
You have to look at the agenda packet to see names.
We don't publish them in the agenda summaries.
You can, it's online.
They are.
Yes.
It's published online prior to the meeting. And where is that? It's under the agenda It's in the agenda packet published at every board meeting on the Thursday prior to board meeting. All right, I'm going to talk about some answers to streetlight questions that were raised. The first, where did this start? Where did it come from? Before I ever got involved with the project was started inside of the Amherst Energy Conservation Committee, and had a project manager inside the engineering department affiliated with the project recommend the project moving forward. The project moved forward to an RFP process. In those RFP responses, a number of firms showed what the projected savings annually could be. This board decided to advance through a design process and initial process based on those preliminary numbers. Once we were satisfied with the design process, we then engaged the New York State Power Authority. Power Authority came with a third-party incentive and began to work on the task of assembling bid document. And then twice, once in January of 22, revised a projected costs for that project and projected savings. The projected savings continue to outweigh the projected costs. At the time, Power Authority had not offered, National Grid had not offered the replacement program and had still refused to replace streetlights with LED. Following what many communities have done throughout Western New York, the town proceeded with a project. It did include 9,600 streetlights. That purchase and, right, so when we talk about $34.75 per light, it includes the purchase of the light and the replacement itself.
It also includes new wiring as needed.
By purchasing the light, we stopped paying a tariff on the lights. Bids were commissioned. Companies, Catco and O'Connell, bid the various portions were low bids on various portions of the project. They are both union. Both projects were bid under New York State prevailing wage. Both companies have the required electric and line workers associated with IBEW union halls. The project itself is a 20-year bond. The construction costs on the total project cost is $33,197,733.31. The total estimated annual savings once we get to the full savings components is $2,982,996. This year we do not have projected savings figured into our expense sheets, simply because it's an 18-month project and we're not sure how fast we could move. It's been a good winter with construction ongoing. We hope to be able to return some of that funding later on, and that would be through next year's budget process. The project cost paid to date was approximately, as of October 11th, 22, was $4 million. There was a balance that was paid in order to buy equipment. We have project costs that we need to pay for currently, and that's where we are regarding that project. As far as the projections, they were presented to the town board in multiple work sessions. I don't recall the dates offhand. They are published online. One was by Wendell Companies upon receipt of upon award of the original RFP for design. later updated by the Power Authority. Yep, Mike, go ahead.
Additionally, you expect the people up here to do our due diligence. I found out that there, in fact, is another government that's moved to LED lights. It turns out it's Dunkirk, New York, roughly about an hour south of here. So I took a day off, and I drove down and spent the day with then Mayor Rosas. I don't know if he's still a mayor or not, but then Mayor Rosas, his finance people, and the City of Dunkirk engineer. And I drove around with the City of Dunkirk with Mayor Rosas and his people as he explained to me what they had done and how they had done it. As I was driving around with him, he made 3 very powerful points to me. Mike, the brighter lights make it more pedestrian safe for our people. It's safer for kids. There are fewer accidents and crime has gone down. Now, whether you believe that or not is irrelevant. I believed it. Okay, but I did. I did. Let me finish. At the end of that meeting, I said, yes, I get to speak. At the end of that meeting, I had a chance to talk with the mayor about the most important issue. I said, wait a minute, is the projected savings that we've been told about concrete? And he pulled out a check, and somewhere on my hard drive I have that. I'm going to post it to Facebook later, because I honestly didn't believe it. But he showed me a check that he had received, and so there's a picture of myself with then Mayor Rosas with a check between us, showing that, in fact, they had received money back, and it was a good investment. Based upon that conversation and based upon that day, I came back here and told these people that. I stand behind that because it actually happened. Whether you believe it happened or whether you agree with it or not is irrelevant at this point.
Question. You said that you're instating a hiring freeze, correct?
We have.
To help with that budget for the lights. You already said that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Which departments are you instituting a hiring freeze for? Is the highway department one?
No, highway and police are exempt.
Highway is exempt, even though the Amherst Beach said otherwise?
Highway has.
They have a prearranged number of employees
do.
you agree to.
Yes.
And they're not even currently.
They have a minimum number.
And they're not even at that rate now.
Right. They're allowed to hire to that number. All right. Okay. There.
I want to respond to Shelley. Shelley, we did our due diligence. There was a committee, there were several committees that vetted the project. Environmental committees, there's one part of this that no one's paid any attention to. This is so important to the environment. It really is. And that's why the state has offered rebates and is encouraging these projects. They are occurring throughout the state of New York. But anyway, we carefully vetted the project. We spent almost a year going through the RFPs, going through the bidding process, all of that. It was done by a team of people.
Deal.
It's significant. I don't know the dollar number.
So I'm gonna. Yep. Again, this all was published at the time the decisions were made. but we're spending about $3.6 million a year with National Grid. You're neglecting to take in, right, and then there was a tariff increase. It went to 3.6. Right as we were, right before we commenced the project, Tom. Okay. We have a 3.6 million per year expense with National Grid. Again, so the last question that I'm going to address that was asked of me was with regards to the Boulevard Mall, the park, and the streetlights, and why do these projects? And I'll say that the streetlights project, again, by itself, makes sense, and in the long term, it actually creates quite a savings for this community. The Boulevard Mall project and the park are different animals. We had stuck properties. The Boulevard Mall fell into receivership. Without a lot of concentrated effort, it would not have been sold or auctioned. Once it was sold or auctioned, it became clear that developers not going to be able to move the project forward, and now we have stuck property. And you could say, well, why would the town get involved? Why would the town get involved? And I would point to a series of dead malls in Western New York, including Summit Park, the former Seneca Mall site, which sits vacant, soon the McKinley Mall, a Galleria, which is already in trouble and underwater, and tell you that retail's failed and things have not been able to change. And at some point as a government, you can say, we're going to get involved and we're going to step in and we're going to do what we can, or we can just accept that these vacant sites are going to sit and further deteriorate our tax base. That's why we've moved forward. That's why we continue to move forward with those projects. So thank you for your comments and questions. I get, after the board meeting, you're welcome to come up and address us again. I okay.
It has to go our way, and we have to come up with solutions that we can find trust back into you, and we work together.
I understand.
Like I say, a lot of people say this. There is a limit how much we can spend. This is not different than a household. We have so much money we can spend, and that's it. We have to consider a certain percent of people who do not have the resources to go over that. When you build this housing in this mall, you can take all these residents who cannot afford the housing anymore, and have to look for places, but they have to sell them right in this mall apartment.
Okay, thank you. And just the town does, okay.
What do you want to do with these people? I have neighbors there,
Okay.
but it is a big problem. What do you want to do with these people?
I understand. Okay, thank you. Like I said, I'm going to motion to adjourn the board meeting.
No, we have to
Oh,
close
sorry.
public
We did already. I already closed it. Angela, you're welcome to.
Thank you.
comment.
Good evening, everyone. Angela Marinucci, I thank you all for the warm welcome. I know that Deputy Supervisor Debbie Buckeye leaves a great deficit on this board, and while I do not intend to fill her shoes, I do intend to do the things that I have promised and listen and be part of this board, and I intend to forge my own path forward. As a response, if you look in the agenda packet, which is next to the agenda and the two links, the list for the reorganization does include those names of the people who are being reappointed. They are not included in the human resources resolutions because of the human resources and personnel policies. So if you look in the first 20 or so, it will have the names of the parliamentarian and other people who are being reappointed in that agenda packet. I see that Mr. Hoban has left. I do work for Erie County. He had asked that question. I want to make sure that I responded to it. And that Mr. Blake had asked a question about resolutions, as the supervisor did just respond, and what we can do going forward and how we're handling it. And that is what I intend to do as I learn more and carry out the people's work. So thank you for the opportunity to respond. I look forward to hearing more from you.
All right, with that, I will motion to adjourn.
We need to close.
I did already.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear you say that.
All in favor?
Aye.